Chris Watkin back again of part 3 of a 5-part series with my wonderful friend Maxine Fothergill, who is a property investor, letting agent, former national president of the ARLA PropertyMark. What she doesn't know about property isn't worth knowing. She's written a book called How to Become a Successful Property Investor, and we're doing a 5-part series on how we can help you as property investors. Maxine is a friend of mine and a client, been so for over 8 years. So when I heard she was doing a book, I thought, let's get her up to Grantham and get her on the WatkinSofa. So we've just finished part 2, which again, if anyone wants to watch, they can look on YouTube. Part 3 talks about the finding, negotiating and securing that most wonderful buy-to-let deal. What are some of the key lessons you've learned about negotiations? Because that's the first one. Well, no, actually, no. Let's go before then. Finding properties. What's your advice? And in the previous video, you talked about building relationships up with letting agents. Let's just touch on that, and then we'll move over to negotiation very quickly.
Okay, so finding the right property has got to be that foundation, building those relationships, getting in with the estate agents, speaking to the letting agent side of the business as well, and making sure you're in the right place at the right time. And you will do that if you've actually got up off of the sofa, away from your computer, and you've actually walked into agents.
Taking the donuts, not just once. Don't think you're going to get anywhere with one set of donuts. It's donuts and cookies. But you're so right, because there's so many letting agents where landlords are, liquidating their investments. They don't want to get rid of their tenants. So there's so many properties that get bought and sold with not even making the open market, don't they?
Absolutely. I mean, we're finding ourselves. Where I've been running my own agency for the last 22 years, I've got quite a few of my landlords that are now wishing to sell because they are retirement age. And so it's not because of like the market or anything else, but they just want to release their money now and be able to spend it. Yeah. So equally, for everybody who's leaving, there's always someone else who's going to be buying that. So property deals are always there. But you have to build those relationships. You've got to be making sure that, as you say, it's continuity. Don't go round once on a Saturday, or go a few times. You've got to keep popping in. You've got to, coffee, teas, donuts, chocolates honestly, at Christmas. Honestly. We all love it as agents.
Yeah, because you think everyone's doing this. They're not. But, you'll be amazed at the power of the donut or the sausage roll.
Absolutely.
There you go. So we kind of nailed the finding in the previous video, but some people might not have watched it. Let's move on to negotiation. Where does great negotiation come in? What is great negotiation, and where does it come in terms of the investment?
Right. So great negotiation is actually pitching at that right price. Now, there are some great tools out there nowadays. But if you've built that good relationship, then also the agent will have the inside information as to what that landlord or that person is likely to take, and how motivated they are to actually that sale to go through. You need to ask certain questions. I mean, I talk about it a lot in the book, but it's like, is there a chain? Is this a landlord? Is it something where they're quite desperate to sell? Is it a relationship breakup? There's so many things that you can find out, and that's the sort of thing that you need to be asking and finding out. Because
you're so right. Why are they moving? Because a lot of people just think it's about the pound note figure. It's not. It's I want the money so my child or whatever can go to that school, or I can help my daughter. So you can say, right, I'll pay you X, but I guarantee you'll have the money by Y.
Yes, yeah. So, if you've got your finance in place, if you've asked all the right questions, if you know how motivated the seller is, then that helps you to go into that great power of negotiation. And it is an art. It's like a lot of people think, oh, well, I'll just put in a silly offer. Actually, silly offers can sometimes be quite damaging, especially if they go in like pitched far too low. And this is why building that relationship with the agent in the first place will give you a really good idea as to like what will be acceptable and not actually insult somebody. So that's the other thing that you've got to sort of consider.
Yeah, I've met at times when I was an agent where someone went it lowballed, and then when they actually went up to a proper price, the homeowner still said no because they were offended.
Yes, yeah. So, you know, the agent will know their client, the agent will know what's likely to be acceptable. And the agent might, well, if they're a good agent, the agent will probably say, don't do anything yet. So, you know, it does come down to, but they won't do that unless you've built that
Yes, because they're
relationship.
not going to, you know, the agent works for the landlord, but they also offer a duty of care. And if you've built a relationship, then you're more likely to have a little chink through the door.
That's right.
Mm.
And the agent, of course, will want to work for their client as well as for the buyer. They will want to see that sale go through. So this is why it is crucial to build those relationships to be able to get a really good negotiated deal.
Now, getting a deal tied up is price-wise is one thing, but then on average it takes 19 weeks to get through it to exchange and completion. And I know you're aware, but some people watching this might not be aware, but for every 100 homes that come onto the market, only 53 end up exchanging and completing, i.e. the deal's done. The other 47% don't. What top tips would you give to landlords about ensuring that even once they've agreed a price, they actually get it through and over the line to exchange and completion?
Yeah, it can be really hard, and the longer the chain is, the more difficult, and very often chains break down. I mean, we've been in that position many times where we've thought something's going to fall through, and even the finance has suddenly, you know, fallen out of bed. You know, something's actually happened. But I think the most important thing is keep your calm. Do your research, speak to your team around you, especially your financing. Make sure that everything is still going to plan. Sometimes it's a case of you have to, like, you know, work with the agent, and the agent then needs to speak to another agent, and it might well be that there has to be a whole lot of renegotiating.
Ooh.
So this does come down to the skills of who you're actually working with in the first place. I mean, sometimes, you know, it might be a landlord would actually like set the deal themselves, but generally most are actually going through agents. So I would say keep you calm and make sure that you also keep in touch all the time with the sales progressor, because they're going to be your best friend.
Very much so. I mean, my advice also, especially on the other side from people selling, and I know this is for investing, is get the solicitors involved when you put the homes on the market if you are selling. And you'll be amazed. I would say, and I'm sweeping statement here, Maxine, but most estate agents are not very good at sales progression. So almost you need to be a bit of a sales progressor. And you know, if the solicitor wants a piece of paperwork, don't sit on it for 3 days, because if everyone sits on it, that's why it's 19 weeks, because it's all these little days.
It is, and the LPE one is a lot of information that you have to complete when you're selling something. And equally, you need to be putting in a lot of information, especially to your mortgage broker. So you're absolutely right. As soon as they ask for something, make sure you get it to them within 24 hours. The quicker that you can work, the better that deal is likely to actually stick together, and it will get through to the end.
I think that's the end of part 3. What I'd like to do is move on to part 4, which is you've now bought the property from making sure that they're getting the right sort of tenants and making sure everything's compliant. So I'll see you on part 4.
Okay, thank you.